Hi there. My name is Scott Larson, and I am the creator, writer, illustrator of the comic book series Visitations. Visitations is the history of Chicago as seen through the eyes of the residents of the city's oldest cemetery. It's part ghost story, part superhero adventure, and part history all rolled into one. And if you'd like to read a copy of issue number 1 for free, please email me at visitationscomicbook, all one word, at gmail.com. And there is a link below in the description. For anyone who knows me, who's seen me at conventions, you know that one of the things that I tend to do at my table is I tend to welcome a lot of cosplayers over, and I generally have a contest for cosplayers, and cosplayers are able to get their name on a tombstone in the book. I had somebody actually cosplay as one of my characters, and she's going to become a character in the book. And because a lot of my audience does like to costume up and go to conventions, along with the different comic professionals I've been interviewing, I've also been interviewing different cosplayers. And a couple weeks ago, I was doing research for the interview I did with Ron Friends previous to this. And when I was doing my research, I came across an interview with him from the Spider-Man Crawlspace website. And one of the people who was on that interview was a lady named Kelly McDaniel. Kelly McDaniel is a cosplayer. And when she told her story of why she became a cosplayer and what she was really interested in, it absolutely floored me. And I immediately thought, this is a person who I want to have come and talk to my audience. Because since there are a lot of different creative people who are watching these interviews, and creative people not just in drawing and writing, but cosplayers too, whom I consider creators as well, I thought that this would provide a great source of inspiration for anybody who has to hear what Kelly has to say. So I am going to bring her on. Kelly, if you can unmute yourself and turn on your video.
Yep.
There she is.
Hello.
Hi, Kelly. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for coming on and talking with all of the people here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and I'm going to start off with the question that I ask everybody. What was your first introduction to comic books? So you're obviously a spider person. So
Yeah.
So you are comic book oriented. What was your first introduction? Was it a movie or a TV show? Was it an actual comic book? I'll let you answer that question, then I have a follow-up question.
Okay. It was a comic book. I'm not entirely sure which one, because I can remember quite a few from my childhood, but my dad used to go to the comic book shop weekly to check out baseball cards and stuff like that. And so me and my little brother would go rummaging through the quarter bin or, whatever random spinner rack was right there. And obviously Marvel was a big one because of all the cartoon shows from Fox Kids. So it's kind of a mixture of like the early X-Men from Fox Kids and seeing, I want to say it was a Rogue mini series is the first one that I really remember, but I know that wasn't my first comic.
Okay.
So, because I think it was her 93, 94 miniseries. So it was like her very first miniseries. I remember holding, because I still have it, the last issue was like issue 4 of that in my hands, but I know we had comics before then. I just don't know which one was the first one. But definitely Marvel, Spider-Man, X-Men. That was where I gravitated towards, and Batman. But that's because my dad was a big Batman fan, and grew up with it as a kid, and that's one reason why we always went to the comic book shop.
You are allowed to cross over.
Yes, we are allowed.
So what's the first comic book you remember?
Like I said, I remember that conclusion because I'm pretty sure I didn't have any other issues because I distinctly remember reading it and going, "Who's Bobby?" Because I didn't know who Bobby was. And then I think the origin came out on the cartoon show a little while later, and I found out who Bobby was. other than that, like I distinctly remember in 1996, back in like a Kroger, it was a back to school, because it was like I got it because I was going to kindergarten, and it was a back to school thing with Supergirl, and she's like holding up the bus, and what's her face? I'm trying to remember her name, and I can't remember her name, but like it had like a wonderful splash page on the end with one of Supergirl's villains has like the skull face, and I can't remember her name right now, but I remember that one really well too. And then of course being 8 years old and finding Spider-Girl.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about that story.
Yeah, so when I had just turned 8, and we were in the comic book store, and there was on the new wall, it wasn't, I can't remember if it was the second or the third issue, but I know we got 0 through 3 that day because there were stuff in the back, back bins. But it was just sitting there, and all I saw Spider-Man, and the Spider-Man cartoon series had started about a year or two before, and I was like, but that says Spider-Girl, and picking it up, and I'm flipping through it, and I see someone who looks like me, because before that, most of the characters, unless they were Rogue, had blonde hair, had red hair. There wasn't really anyone in Spider-Man that I knew of, because Betty wasn't really a part of this, of a female with brown hair, someone that looked like me. Which of course I'm very aware of, that I'm white. There's plenty of people in comics that look like me, but she looked like me, and she wasn't in like frilly dresses. It wasn't like Kimberly the Power Ranger, like let's go to the mall and stuff like that, although there's that stuff in there too. She just seemed down to earth and real. And when reading the back issues, she played sports. I was very sporty because I wanted to be a Power Ranger. So I was doing all sorts of stuff, and so like it just resonated, and I kept up with the series as best as possible, taking I had music lessons next to the comic book shop. So I would take music lessons, go to the comic book shop, pick stuff up with my allowance money or good grades money. And that's kind of how I collected the series for the most part.
That's really interesting. I had been reading comic books myself for a while, and when I found Spider-Man, I had thought that Peter Parker looked like me. I was a little bit skinnier than I am now, but this is like all COVID weight, and my hair is brown, even though it's gray now, but that's COVID gray.
Yeah, it's all COVID. It'll go back to normal once this is all over.
That's right. But I felt a connection with the Peter Parker character. And I think part of it was him being a little bit of a loner, him being, on his own. And it's interesting because you don't always find people who either connect with a character like that or are willing to admit it. And so I think that it's great that you can take a look and be like, well, that's like me. And so
I mean, as the series progressed, it really felt like it was like there were moments where I was like, is this written for me? Because it's like, my dad worked in law enforcement. Pete is a CSI. So around that investigative unit stuff. So I remember that very clearly, very distinctly, and felt that kind of kinship, because not too many people fully understand that.
Talk real quick before you go into that. There might be some people who do not know who Spider-Girl is.
Oh,
so yes. Tell us your version of who Spider-Girl is.
Well, Spider-Girl is in, if you know anything about the Spider-Verse, which thanks to Sony Animation, you should, because that is an amazing movie. But in World 982, there is a little universe that is set 15 years in the from the present. And it's wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, because it was written in the late 90s, early 2000s. But set 15 years in the future, where Mary Jane and Peter have a daughter named MayDay Parker. and she is got the best traits of both her parents. She tries to be everybody's friend. She's very level-headed. She's very responsible, and she's just the coolest. To me, she's the coolest chick around. But obviously, I'll let you make that decision for yourself. But she is a 15, 16-year-old being Spider-Girl, taking up her dad's mantle and really kicking butt with it. In her short little time of being Spider-Girl in the series, she did a lot.
So you found the Spider-Girl character,
Hmm.
and you read that, and what else were you reading at the time?
So a large part of it, because most of the time my dad would be like, "No, put that back.
Uh-huh.
We're not paying $1.99 for a comic. That's too expensive." He feels. But so we normally would go into the quarter bin, and we would find the quarter bin at any comic book shop we'd go into. We'd find the quarter bin at Smiley's flea market, whatever we could find. We'd find comics at like garage sales, just whatever. And that's kind of what me and my brother would read. And so a lot of times we would have large gaps because back then there wasn't things like Marvel Unlimited or DC Universe that had had comics digitally available. And so we would just have kind of really big gaps. And that was kind of the thing because I I'm 30 years old. I grew up in the 90s, and we had internet in 94.
Mhm.
So whenever there was a gap or something didn't make sense, I would go on the internet. Most kids would get in trouble. I researched the comic books and then would still get in trouble, but because it wasn't learning material, but that's okay. So that's kind of what I would do with that. So I have a lot of 80s stuff. So what's really funny is when you go back and you look at a large part of what we picked up then, because I have almost everything on my comic shelf. I have a bookshelf filled with comics using the magazine holders, and most of them are actually like the DeFalco Stern era Spider-Man stuff, especially with Spider-Man. And most of them were found in quarter bins or yard sales for cheap or just random stuff, and they're not perfect by any means. I have a few Ditkos. I have just really older stuff from the 60s, 70s, and 80s that just kind of accumulated. And then of course now there's a lot of 90s stuff too, but I'm still so ingrained to immediately go to that quarter bin
Mhm.
and start looking for stuff. But thankfully I can fill the gaps in a little bit easier because I always have my phone and have all the digital reading apps. But that's kind of what I did. So it's like I can't tell you what I was super into prior to Spider-Girl because that was really my only current title that I held until college.
So it's a the story that you're telling now is a common story.
Mm.
And I think that when you're a kid and you don't have much money, you always gravitate towards the back issue cheaper stuff. And I know that in
Yeah.
my case, and I'm going to date myself real quick here, we would go to the comic book shop. My dad would hand me $2,
Hmm.
which would pay for everything. Comics were 60 cents. And I remember when Marvel raised their prices from 60 cents to 65, and I didn't know where that extra nickel was going to come
Yeah.
from. Somehow I found it, but
Yeah.
I was unclear where that was going to come from. How was I going to buy Web of Spider-Man #1? It's a common story, and it's a really interesting story. And you're going to the comic shops and you're seeing all this neat stuff, and then one day you find a convention.
Hmm.
So how did you tell me about your first convention?
So my first convention actually I volunteered for. It was my college. I was kind of anti-fraternity called the Campus Nerds, and I was volunteering my time, uh, mostly because my boyfriend was one of like the heads of it, and that was actually kind of the first inkling of me cosplaying. I didn't really cosplay during that. I didn't really know what to do or how to do it, and didn't have any money because I was a college freshman. But I went and I helped out with MomoCon, which was at the time our sister con. Now they're one of the largest animation cons in the South, and work with Dragon Con. But before, they were a free con at Georgia Tech with their kind of anime club. And where I was, we had our campus nerds. So I was helping them with their like fundraiser stuff, selling stuff, and just kind of being a liaison between our stuff. And that was really my first con. So I didn't do a whole lot, but it was really interesting. And then I went to MomoCon and kind of kept going to different cons in the area since. But
What year was that?
it was 2009.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was 18, 19. And so yeah, so I didn't cosplay that year, but I didn't cosplay the first MomoCon in 2010 that I went to, but everything since then I've at least done one costume. It's taken a lot to get there because I'm one of these people is like, super imposter syndrome, like, no, I can't do it. I can't be that. I can't do that. I don't know where to start. I had always watched and like looked at stuff from afar, like online. So it's like I knew like Scruffy Rebel and Kitten Silver. So Kit Quinn back when she was like a duo cosplay group with one of her friends. And I was fascinated by it. And I was like, oh man, how do they do that? How can they do that? But like my mom doesn't really sew. Best thing I ever had to that prior was like when a great aunt made me a Pink Ranger costume because they were sold out because people forget that back in the 90s there was a large thing of like they didn't know what was going to be super popular, so then the things wouldn't like the demand would be way too high. People like I feel like trying to tell young kids about Tickle Me Elmo. And like they don't understand. No, there just wasn't enough. Like that's just that's what happened. That's why it was so popular. But anyway, so like I didn't know where to start or what to do. So I started like hand sewing.
Okay, so before we go into that,
Yeah.
because I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about that at length.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're going to go back to 2009, and we're going to go back to your first convention, and so you were volunteering there. Did you walk around? What did you see when you walked around? Did you buy anything there? You said you didn't have any money, but my assumption is you didn't leave that convention empty-handed.
So
tell me about your feelings going through the aisles and seeing stuff and what struck you about it.
Okay. Well, I mean,
we'll talk about the cosplay.
Yeah. So I was there setting up. I was there taking things down. So I actually don't. I want to say I think I bought a pair of chopsticks, like metal chopsticks from one of the vendors, but I don't quite remember exactly what it is. Like I remember being in like the staff room and taking a nap on the couch. I remember going into panels. I remember joining a panel. I was actually doing a DC versus Marvel panel, but I was defending DC because it was before it was kind of in my wheelhouse of that because it was before New 52 because unfortunately I could not get into New 52 and then lost track and too much has happened now. One day I will go back, but it's a different world.
You are allowed to like both.
Yeah.
So you are allowed to like both.
I am allowed to like, but I know I'm just saying it's a different world. Like I can't get myself back into it because it actually like it legitimately is different. The world I knew and grew up with is gone. Actually, which is fine because it's comics.
Yeah, actually, a little bit of a side note. The old stuff from before the New 52 has basically been reinstated. So sort of. A lot more than you would think.
Okay. Maybe we'll see.
We'll talk.
We'll talk. You. We'll talk. Yeah. You can tell me. Yeah. No. It got too much. So I was super DC on that panel. I helped with the just ushering people into the costume contest kind of deal. But I was so busy just like trying to do everything to make it run, and I really had no clue what I was doing. But it was fun to see everyone's excitement. It was fun to see how like people's costumes and the creativity that was coming out of it. It was fun to like see, like go into the game room and just see like so many people so focused on what they were doing, like because it was just everywhere you went there was kind of this different facet. And even though this was like an itty bitty con set in a student center of a smaller college, you know, it was interesting to see, and it was a lot of fun because you get caught up in everybody's like everybody else's excitement. So I felt very proud that I was able to contribute and hopefully make that a good con for somebody. And that's kind of where I have to go do this on the other side now. So let me go somewhere else. And I was making jokes before we got on about how normally I wind up roped in. And that's kind of how I run the Dragon Con Spider-Verse group. And so I handle all those photo shoots and stuff. And that's kind of how that happened. And it's just because I like bringing joy. I like making people excited. And since I know how things work, it's a lot easier to be understanding and happy that, you know, things are going great. So I enjoy the moment when I'm at cons. They're like my vacation. It's really sad that we don't have them right now.
So tell me a little bit. So you started going down this road, and I stopped you. So
Yeah. Sorry.
What gave you, no, you're fine. What gave you the idea to do a costume in the first place? Where was it like, hey, I'm gonna go and do this now?
Yeah. So
where did that come from?
yeah. So in 2009, while we were talking about that and we were talking about doing costumes, obviously, like what I did, I think was a random generic schoolgirl outfit because that's all I could afford to do, all I could think of to do. And I hemmed the skirt to be really, really short. And I had to hand sew it, and I didn't know what I was doing. I think I looked up a YouTube tutorial and it was totally wrong, or I did something wrong, but at least held up, so it's fine. It didn't look that bad in photos, so it was fine. And from there, it was just kind of like learning little bit by little bit, because I think right after that, like I said, I took almost a year off of that, but then did my first costume, which was a very generic looking. It was supposed to be Batgirl, but the wig that I got was so bright red, I just was calling myself Batwoman, and like it looked like her hair, so that's what I went with. And just kind of went, okay, I don't like that look, I don't like this, what can I do to make this better, what can I do to look, you know, look more professional, more put together. And you know, kind of went through different fandoms. The conversation where we had talked about the costumes, you know, it's one of the only pieces of advice, and I'm shocked people don't get this all the time, but it's cosplay who you love and who you want to bring to life. And when we had that conversation, I was like, I want to do MayDay. I want to do Spider Girl, which, you know, they were kind of, it was like Spectacular Spider Girl at the time, and stuff like
That's when
that.
it was scaled into Amazing Spider-Man Family and
Yeah.
Webisode, right?
Well, I think it was digital at this point in 09. I might be wrong. It might have started to be
It started out digitally, but it was also printed.
Yes, exactly, because it was the first digital exclusive for Marvel
Right.
Unlimited back when they were trying to do exclusives and then stopped because it didn't really work. But yeah, so I was like, I really want to do that. How do I make a spider suit? How do I do this? And like nothing at the time looked like I wanted it to. I didn't have the technical skills to do it on my own. And there was also just the element of, I don't know if I can pull her off. I don't know if I can be like, if I can embody her, if I can do her the justice that I want, which would be like stepping off of a movie set or something. You know, like I want her to look like she stepped out of the comic. I don't want to be myself. I want to be her. And I kept always putting that in the back of my head. It was always like, I'll eventually get to this. I'll eventually do it when I'm ready. When I'm like, when I feel more confident, when I lose 10 pounds, when I learn this, learn that. And like, I was learning stuff. Like I've learned how to 3D print, or 3D model, resin, casting. Like I went into prop building and stuff like that. Like I've learned, but I never felt ready for her until I had to take a break from cosplay for a second and be an adult and and get things together, because there was some stuff going on, and it just kind of felt like, all right, it's now or never. If I don't do it by 30, I'll never get her done. So I need to go ahead and do it. And I was dealing with like a lot of medical issues. I was dealing with like just a whole bunch of stuff, and I was like, I'm going to power through this. I'm going to get this right. I'm going to start working out and get like look like her. I'm going to do everything I can to make this the best that I can. And luckily by then I had had so many contacts and so many, had 10 years, almost like, I think at that point, 8 years of resources when I first started on this, to know where to go and know what to do and know how to do things. But like that took so long for me to feel, it wasn't confidence, but it was just took 8 years to basically go, no, we're jumping in, we're going. And that's, really, she was always in the back of my head, but it was very satisfying to finally go, okay, this was the character that you wanted to do the entire time. This is what you wanted. Like, as much as I love my Pip Girl pinup thing, as much as I love doing Janine from Ghostbusters and all sorts of, or Rose Tyler, because I'm mostly known as Rose Tyler, and have all of her costumes. I feel much more at home in this character.
So, okay, so I want to ask a question now, and this is actually a question I wasn't expecting to ask. But you said a second ago that you worked out in order to be in the costume. So, what brought that? I mean, that's really interesting. And I've, there's dedication, then there's dedication. And I mean, I can't even like work out in order to get into this t-shirt, let alone to put a costume on and go to a convention. And so how long were you planning that? I mean, was it like, okay, I'm 6 months away and this is how big my bicep is going to be at this point, and then it'll fit into the costume? Or how what was the time frame between, okay, here's the character I'm going to be, and this is when the convention is, or wherever you're going with it? How long was that time frame?
Okay, so I gave myself a year.
Okay.
To make the full suit and do all the workouts and try and be healthy and et cetera, et cetera. Obviously things didn't go as planned. I distinctly remember sending my measurements for the suit based off one of like another suit, my Evangelion Mari suit from Evangelion, from anime. And I was like, I hope this is right. I hope this is right. I hope this is gonna fit. And so, because I definitely could not fit in that suit when I sent the measurements off, and I was like, oh my God, like I was like, this was a terrible plan. Because when I said I was gonna do this, I threw everything in. I just went rail first and just tried to do everything, and definitely failed and tripped up. I got very, very sick because I found out during all this too that I had celiacs, and I found out because I got very, 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 very sick. And it was a not, to me, it's like I look back and it's like it really wasn't that tough, like because I was so dedicated and focused on this. Because it's, you know, and I'm the biggest proponent of cosplay who you want to cosplay. It doesn't matter your gender or age or weight or race or anything. Just do the character that you want to celebrate. Like I'm here for it. I celebrate it, whether it's your first cosplay or your 100th cosplay. It's great. It's awesome. Definitely not saying like do this. It's just I was never gonna feel comfortable if I didn't try. And it's one of these really funny things because like I'm in all of these one of the great things about conventions is a lot of times different conventions will have a lot of fitspo because there's a lot of like fitness people who get in like really get into fitness to look like these superheroes and look like these characters. They have a lot of support groups in there. You know, kind of inside the social media aspect of them. And so like I've joined a few of them and every single time everyone's like, what's your fitness goal? My fitness goal is to look like this superhero who actually is not real. Well, she was real thin for a second, but we're gonna go by amazing and spectacular. You know, and she looked muscular and she looked normal. She looked like a high school athlete, something that like at least thankfully with me, I did grow up doing until I busted my knee freshman year of high school. So, you know, for the most part, I was an active kid. I have fairly good cardio range. Weightlifting is my bane of my existence, but it's needed to get muscle definition. And so kind of learning those tips and tricks and having that support group made it easier. I also drug friends to the gym and we did group, like, especially getting to Dragon Con of like, you know, we'd go to the gym together, share a playlist or, you know, watch the same movie or something like that. We were very loud and talking about crazy things because Dragon Con is not it's not a normal con. It's nerdigras, like it's a party. So you know, it was a lot of just making it fun and to stay consistent. But it was also my brain was so dead set on I want to look like I use photos of myself that of like at a weight I liked and you know used a fictional character that luckily does not have her exact measurements or size ever sat in there like in the series thankfully because that always kind of gives people the wrong idea. So luckily it's kind of like as long as I just wanted to look right. And I'll be honest, I'm still not there yet, but I lost by the time I put on the suit and the hips were loose. And then I've lost like 10 pounds since then, which is why it's kind of loose up here now. But it was yeah, no, like I knew I had to do it, so I did it. In fact, like I actually, because it's always in my backpack, and this is gonna be cringe, but my workout book.
No.
So I have a workout book with a plan and everything in here that I wrote up.
Wow.
I need a new one. I have it. My friend is getting me a new one with weight training, like body training, to try and help me on the next set of that goal. But yeah, no, like, and it's not like I don't know. It probably sounds weird now that I'm thinking about it, but it was just.
No, it sounds amazing. And look, I'm a fan. I'm a creator, and I sit down at the drawing board, and there have been times when I've put my all into what I was doing and failed, or not gotten where I wanted to get, or whatever. And I can remember actually 2 years before you went to your first convention, working on one of the first comic series I ever did. And thank God, it never got printed. And the Memorial Day weekend, I sat there from Thursday night to 4 o'clock Monday, early Monday morning working, and the stuff was terrible. And as creators, you put your heart and soul into this, and I think that what impresses me so much about what you're doing is it wasn't just that you were crafting something, you were crafting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that that's weird. I think it's super cool, and I think it's absolutely incredible. And you talk about dedication to your craft, my God. It's like and I'm saying it like this because I didn't know that
Yeah.
when I invited you to come and talk. But also I'm saying that because I have never heard of anyone doing that. And so that's really cool. I think it's awesome. And in fact, you've got your workout book.
Yeah,
And
that is old. That's been sitting in my so I created May's backpack because I know a lot of other spiders, a lot of other MayDay cosplayers, they'll wear the webbing backpack, and I mean that's fine. Like those look neat. They're really fun and they're fun to make, but that's not MayDay to me. So like which unfortunately it's like covered in makeup right now, and unzipped because it's what I use normally to carry my laptops back and forth to where I'm going if I have to travel, and I'm at my parents' right now. So anyway, it's over here. Actually, shoot, I'll just do this. There we go. So it's empty, but normally to keep it kind of sturdy, I'll put something up under it, and that's generally that book, just because it's there. And I don't care if it gets something spilled on it or something crazy, like it's there. So yeah, so like I made this backpack because this is May's backpack. Like this is a knockoff JanSport, but I assume JanSport doesn't exist in the 616, so I'd assume a knockoff is fine. I grabbed all these little pins. I like looked at every single time that they drew the backpack. Like I cleaned this the folder to show off the photos. I cleaned that up for you because there's so many pictures I had of this backpack just to get the right pins corrected. I had asked some friends to make me some pins with their pin maker. So like there's just some, I don't know if these would be actually what she'd have on there, but they were the right colors, they were the right shapes, they were the right sizes. And then I even went back like with the old Pat stuff in the beginning, and she had like in the very, very beginning, she had MayDay like the iron-ons, like of her name, iron-on letters on it. And I was like, oh no, like you can't just have those on there, and then go crime fighting. Your secret identity is stolen. So like I took a stencil with some hot glue. And not that you can tell on camera, this is where like I get real weird on my details. I went in with hot glue, and you can't tell on the camera, you can't tell in a photo. But I went in and I wrote MayDay with a stencil and some hot glue, like over it, like where it would have been. So then it looks like she ripped it off. Because I'm that person. And then like the only embellishment I gave her was 34, because that was her basketball number. And so I did do that. That's not on her backpack, but that was for me, because I always have to do something a little bit extra. So it was that or glitter. I don't feel like May is a glitter girl. So that was my embellishment. And I love taking this backpack. I filled that backpack up because 6 months before that con, they did the dollar issues, the dollar reprints, and they actually did What If 105. I special ordered them from one comic book shop, and I got as many as they could actually give me. And then right after work, I went to every comic book shop on the way to that one and picked up every single issue I possibly could of it, which I feel a little bad about, but it was for a good cause. Spent about $85, and I stuck all of them in here for Dragon Con. And anytime I had a little kid come up to me, or, you know, another spider person, or even, which I wasn't expecting at the con, but other Spider-Girl fans, I would give those out. Because that was like my, here you go. Because I was, you know, every little kid, they see a spider, that's Spider-Man. Doesn't matter if it's a girl, which I have, you know, I have that story about the parade where the little girl saw me in the parade and just, you know, clearly, I mean, I'm a girl, and she goes, Spider-Man can be a girl too. And like just the realization on her face in that Dragon Con parade melts my heart. I think melts anybody's heart, because it was like, yeah, you know, Spider-Man can be a girl too. Like that's the entire point of the Spider-Verse movie, was anyone can be Spider-Man. And that's kind of the beauty of the character and beauty of just the legacy. And so, you know, that really touched me. I had a grown adult, she was probably about my age. She had only ever had What If 105, but she used that to learn to draw. And she saw me, and I was like full head to toe. It was one of the first time, I think it was the first time I was out in it. And you could just tell, because she stopped and stared and had to come up to me, had to hug me. And like, it was a weird, because she started tearing up, and then of course I'm bawling at that point, but luckily I have my mask on, so you can't tell. And she's just telling me the story about how she got What If 105 from someone when she was little, and it inspired her to learn how to draw. And she didn't have, and she was talking to me, she was like, I don't even have that copy anymore because it's in tatters, like just tattered and torn and fell apart. And I was like, I have something for you. And I open up the backpack and I pull out the dollar issue, and just the tears down her face and just how happy she was for that moment. And like, it didn't hit me until like she left, and I was like, that's literally why you cosplay, at least to me. Like, I don't really care if I'm super, super famous or super, super fit or super, super anything. You wear the character because you want to share that moment with other people and share that kind of moment in the fandom. And whether it's, you know, the thing about Spider-Girl has always been to bring in new fans, to, you know, show them this series and this character, because of the fact that like it was on the chopping block so many times during its run, and many notorious Save Spider-Girl campaigns. So it's very important to always have that kind of positivity when you're doing the character for the people that don't know her. But also when you see a fan like that and they have that reaction, like I still like, I'm like, don't know why it was with me, but I appreciate everything, because it also, you know, it's also a testament to what I did and all the work that I put in, all the puff paint, all the making sure the edits on the suit was right and fit right to my body, making sure that my mask had the right lenses, which I'll pop one off. Hopefully I popped the right one off. Did not, that's fine. One of them, the magnets have unglued themselves, so I have to glue it back. But like making sure that it has the right point and this right indentation, so that way it's not just an ultimate eye shell, it's May's eye shell. And all this other like really weird things that I don't think everyone has to do to put on a great cosplay, like, because it should just be about fun. It should just be about what you're doing to celebrate the character. But for me and for MayDay and for this series and for how much it means to me, I literally grew up with this series from 8 years old to I was almost 20 by the time Spider-Girl The End came out. Like, I think I was a few months away. You know, it was important to me to do her right, because I wouldn't have been I wouldn't have been very happy with myself had it not gone otherwise. And I know I still have those moments where I don't feel like I'm enough and I don't feel like I can do, like there's other girls younger than me, prettier than me, blah, blah, blah. But I know that I'm respecting the character the way I want to respect the character. And I'm doing everything possible to do that and to respect the stories that I grew up with. And that's important to me. That's the main thing. And so that's why it's always a joy to be in MayDay. It's always a joy to share my love of the character and the series. And, it brings me joy to share that with old fans and new fans. And I love having that interaction at a con, because you never know who you're going to meet or see, but just getting to be that kind of mascot for the day is a lot of fun. That's also why I'm way into TikTok right now, because I get to like pretend to be her for a good 15 seconds without my real voice, because I don't think that matches Mayday's at all. So it's like, yay, I get to like lip sync and it looks cool. Like I finally can be her for 15 seconds and it's enjoyable, and seeing people interact, other spider cosplayers interact with that, since I don't get to do that at a con anymore. Play off the jokes,
right now.
Photos. Yeah, we can't do it right now. Hopefully we can do it soon. But, it's like, oh man, we can't do it. So I've gotten kind of super into TikTok, because then I kind of get to bring that facet back.
So I have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first I need to make a comment. First of all, you're making me feel as if I'm not working hard enough.
No.
The second comment, the second one is kind of a question, and it's a craft question. So you're making sure that even the eyes on the costume are like perfect, and you're working on the backpack, and so when you're doing this, have you taken the books and cut out the pictures so they're all in one place, or do you have like a million issues of Amazing Spider-Girl laying around and you're kind of going from this one to this one? How are you doing that?
So there's the wonderful thing called the internet, and Marvel Unlimited, which they do not, stop you from screenshotting it. So I have tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of photos that were screenshot and put into, I have a public Facebook album, which I probably need to clean up, because it was probably it's as disorganized as this Google Drive that I had the photos in. I do have all of the floppies and all the digests and everything. So there was that element. And then of course you can always find extra copies at almost every not every comic book shop, because I'll clear them out if it's less, but like it's not like a huge amount, but you can always find those. And I have cut those out before, but to make like actual artwork, not like collage art, not stuff. But I would, most of the time it was go in Marvel Unlimited, look at it, reread it countless times, because it's all there. All of MC2 is there, but the last half of J2, which is a travesty, and someone should help me boycott, or not boycott, but like send a petition to Marvel Unlimited and be like, what? But it's it's just more of like, I had an idea in mind of what I wanted to do and to send pictures. So like with these lenses right here, I actually had to have Armory props. I think they're now defunct, but a prop maker make them for me, because I was making them in Autodesk Inventor. And I got really, really sick, and I realized that my delays on that was not going to, I wasn't going to get to this in time. And honestly, I was a little in over my head on what to do. So I went ahead, I paid for this commission, and I just sent him everything I had, where there was the uncompleted file, like the uncompleted files, all the reference photos. And it was so funny, because I remember sending it to him, like, he's going to think I'm crazy with the amount of detail that I need and exactly what I'm asking for. And he goes, oh my God, I've been wanting someone to ask me to do these. And he was like, I already have an idea for them. I already got it. And I was like, okay. And like, I didn't know what to expect. And then like, I mean, they came out beautifully. So it was really it was kind of like that perfect moment. But I also went to him because I did my research on prop makers and I knew, you know, what he was known for, what he was doing, and just that he was a Spider-Man fan. So it was like he knew exactly what I was looking for. He knew exactly what I wanted, and we were very collaborative in that custom edit, just like with Spider Bite Designs. She has this in her suit, but the like this part doesn't come up all the way here. And I mean, part of it could be I have weirdly long calves or something, or some other people have weirdly long calves. But like all I did is I told her, I was like, hey, I want to buy your suit pattern. I want to buy your suit, but I can't just go through the RPC where you already have it pre there because it's not right. So this is what I need. Can I get this custom edit? Like how much would that cost me? And so we worked out a plan and we worked out a deal on that because I needed it right. Like that was my thing. Like I would feel like I wasn't doing the character justice, even if it was off by 2 inches, which is insane. Because most people would be like, why are you that stressed out? But it's not. It's just like I want to do it right. If I'm going to do it at all and put on all this effort, I have to do it right. So that was kind of the situation. Almost everything I did was custom. My gloves are like long gloves, which, you know, I worked with Zentai Zone to make sure that like my gloves and my boots all hit me at places that would probably bunch up anyway. Mm-hmm. So that way you can't see the seam as well. Because I didn't do the kung fu shoes like all the other spider cosplayers do, not to knock those, but I had a special idea in mind of making sure her soles were blue. So I found knockoff Adidas off eBay and I did the TSAM, the Amazing Spider-Man resole, you know, where he resold the costume department resold like the tennis shoes onto the boots of the suit. And so like these are tennis shoes and like I learned how to boil a shoe and then re-glue it back together because you have to boil it to pull the glue off. And that was an interesting experience. But like I did that so that way the boots looked, had that blue sole that she has when she's in the comics. And I will never go back to kung fu shoes again because they're way too comfortable. I put like memory sole inserts and all these things to make sure like I could jump and do everything, even on my bad knees and stuff like that. So never going back to that because they're some of my favorite parts of the suit. And it's, that's just, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say because it's like, I know it sounds like I'm like, ooh, look at how elitist I am and look everything I did, but it's not about that. Like, I'm not trying to like brag or anything because this is just how, like, to me, this is how much this character means. And so this is my way of showing how much I love the character is by doing it this way.
It sounds to me like it's not so much, I don't think that labeling yourself as elitist is accurate. I think it's more along the lines, if you don't mind me making a comment, of you're doing this for you. Mm-hmm. Maybe other people are seeing it, but at the end of the day, you're doing it for you. I can remember, this is a little bit related. When I was in high school, we had to do a diorama in our class. And I decided that I wanted to do Peter Parker's apartment, which was, he was on Chelsea on Chelsea Street, and it was the apartment with the skylight, and he had like the spool table in the living room, and he had the dime store Indian, and he had like this terrible sofa, and this thing on the wall that said every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. And I had sculpted like Peter Parker with his mask off, like sitting on the wall. And I made sure I did, the living room, and I knew where the bathroom was, and I know that the wall came out. And I can remember right before Todd McFarlane took over the book, they had a couple of fill-in artists, and somebody didn't understand that the wall came out like this, which is where the bathroom.
Oh, no.
And so they had like a separate wall that they had Peter like hanging onto, and so you take a look at it, it's like you don't understand, but when I created that. I created it for myself.
Yeah.
And I did it so I would be pleased with it. And I can go through all kinds of examples there, but we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. So you want to I asked you to bring some photos to show. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you control. So, if you want to kick me off this call, I guess you could do that.
No, I won't do that.
So I'm going to make you the host of this, and then I'll let you take us through what you did. Now, real quickly, a little bit of background is you did something while we've all been trapped in our houses during coronavirus. You did something special in May. Is that correct?
I did. So I had just moved, and by just moved, I mean like I had moved in December, and just never like unpacked or anything until about January. But like by then, everything was just so piled up and crazy. And so being in the house since March, I was like, I have so much stuff. I have so many clothes. What do I do? And it's like, I need to get through all of these things, but they're in like all of these boxes and stuff like that. And so I was like, all right, is there something I can do? And I was trying to think of something to do for the month of May to celebrate Spider-Girl and MayDay, but it's not, thanks to COVID, it's not like I could go out and do photo shoots with anybody. And so I was like, you know what? I've got a few items that I know I definitely bought or held on to from high school because of the series, because as I think you discussed with the legendary Ron Friends, that he referenced teen magazines from that time, which I was a tween/early teen at the time, and also bought those magazines, but not for artist reference, just for myself. He has a slightly cooler explanation, but he definitely did that right, because a lot of stuff, like I would see it and I would make those connections in the magazine, and I'd be like, wait, well, May wore that, and that's at JCPenney's. I can go buy that. So I did, which is probably terrible. Or rather, I didn't pay for it. My mom paid for it. But getting, just doing that, and I was like, I know most of those clothes are here because I refuse to let them go. So why not wear a few of them? And then that few turned into, okay, let's do a whole month. Let's just do it, because I got nothing else to do. And so I just did one day, month of MayDay. I think, though, I wound up with 35 costumes. Because you
also bled into June.
No, it wasn't. No, okay. I was doing 2 a day on some days, because it was like, I would do one and it's like, I don't like that. Like, I just don't like it. I don't like it on me, or I don't feel like it had enough effort into it. I'm gonna do another one. Let's see, what else can I do? Like, and I would sit there and look through the comics like that day and go, okay, what can I like find? And that's what I did. I did that. I did buy a few accessories I didn't have, like some very early 2000s-ish jewelry. But that was only because if I did have those at one point, they were long gone by then. I'm notorious for losing jewelry. and then the last day I did a very special silly costume that only like I think true fans would find amusing. And that I did buy and make. I had to like sew some things on, and I had hot glue things and that didn't work, so I sewed them. But just to do a silly joke.
Mhm.
So that one is in here in my Google Drive. I didn't put all of them in. I just kind of put the ones that like I'm pretty proud of in what happened, because a lot of what I found out, thanks to, like I said, about working out and losing weight, a lot of stuff that I was wearing was very, very big. And so I constantly was having to like, what people don't know is like a lot of the stuff I was bunching up
Okay.
and like tying, and then basically realized like, okay, I gotta toss that. So like everyone who wants me to do it again next year, I will try, but I'm gonna have to buy things.
Well, you could also throw them in a really hot washing machine too. Okay, so let me
Some of them were huge. Yeah.
let me make you the host, and then if you want to take us through some of this stuff, that'd be awesome. Okay. So, okay, so you're in control.
I have my share screen. All right. So we're just gonna go to my Google Drive, and if you see a photo, let me know what you want to look at. This is me making the web shooters, which that was when you were talking about like sometimes people, you do your best and you still fail. This was a fail ultimately. They look pretty, but they're very fragile. I wound up making like molding just some regular ones in rubber. Going forward, just because these, if I swing, they will fall off, and when they fell off at Dragon Con, they broke into a million pieces. So there's some photos you'll see and they're held on by rubber bands. I tried. I've got to learn. It's 3D. I 3D modeled them myself, so I feel like that was an accomplishment. But
yeah, you're gonna be kicked out of the club now.
I know. It was just I thought the magnets would be a strong enough point, and they weren't. So I definitely need to go back and make a hinge on them, like the hinge bracelets, and then I think that they would be okay. It was just trial and error, I guess. But I 3D modeled them. We printed them off a little spot. There were many, many, many weeks of sanding, as seen here. Sanding. Always sanding. And then a lot of trial and error on getting the right paint, because this was my first attempt at the paint. And I remember because I showed it to a prop maker friend and they were like, no, go back and sand that. And I was like, great. I've already sanded it for like 2 weeks, but sanded it more. And we eventually got to where when I was painting them, they eventually got to this. And they're actually metallic. I know my nails look really gross in this photo, but that was all ABS dust from sanding. This was at my old house, but this is my MayDay shelf with all my comics. So all of these are MC2 and MayDay Centric Earth X. And then all of my random memorabilia. And then I've got all of the MC2 figurines. They're just not all in this photo for some reason. But I've got all of that. I did that. Like collecting.
It's funny. I'm looking at the shelf and it's like, oh, I've got those and I have that magazine.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is my first piece of fan art I was given by a fellow Spider-Girl fan and cosplayer, Allison. aka Studio Indigo right here. And she drew that for me based off one of my first photos that I did, photo shoots I did with the suit. And very kind. I'm always, anytime someone does something nice for me, I'm very flabbergasted and I don't know what to say. Because I have a little story after this that I can kind of talk about like things I've received, blessings I have had since doing this. But this is from my first photo shoot. You can see where like this fell down because this is where this sits normally, like on the suit, and I had to get it done right so that way it would sit right because this is the boot and they're supposed to line up. But yeah. There's all this. This is neat actually.
Hold on. Go back. Let's see the headshot.
Okay. Oh yeah, everyone loves these things. This was me literally just having fun and dancing to NSYNC in my hotel room at Dragon Con because it was the very first time I put all of this on together. Like I had done the wig, I had, you know, lost the weight, even though the suit had been sitting in my closet at this point for a good 8 weeks. I did not try it on at all until we got to the con because I was too scared that the moment I put that on, I would see how like I look like I would see that I didn't fit the character. I didn't look like the character the way I want to look, or it wouldn't fit, or something would be wrong, and everything that I'd worked on for that full year would be ruined. So I did not want to put it on. But the moment I put everything on and I was doing my makeup, I hadn't even done a makeup test, so I was trying to like figure out how to make me look more like MayDay. I was just very happy because it felt like fun. It felt like, you know, I was like, this is kind of what I envisioned. This is, oh my goodness. And so I have the short wig on because I have every hairstyle for her. I have a wig for every hairstyle, and put on the short wig and did my makeup, and I was just having fun with the really good lighting in the Hilton bathroom and jamming out to NSYNC. And I completely missed any time I had to get ready for the bunny hutch that year, and so I ultimately was like, then I'm not going. I'm not taking the suit off. I'm just gonna go out there, like whatever. And I think I was in the suit every day because I really didn't want to wear anything else, like at all. Like I was like, nope, this is me now. This is happening. I think I only got into Rose Tyler once, and that was because David Tennant was there and I had a photo op. So I had to. Although I'm sure he would have been fine if I came in this, but it wouldn't have made sense. So yeah, no, that was one of my, it's a really good moment. Everyone loves the photos. I guess it's probably because it's like, it looks like fun and I was having fun. So it shows that off, but I'm always like, there's not a lot to it. I have really fun technical stuff now. Like this. So this was back in January, and this is a video, a time lapse of my friend Lee taking photos of me as Spider-Girl.
Huh. Can you blow that up?
I can try. Yeah, there we go. It's kind of blurry, but oh no, it stopped. All right, there we go. Go again. So yeah, so it's like it's a fast-paced thing because like technically this was like 10 minutes. But yeah, this is like me doing spider stuff. You see my like little kick, and I'm like, because that was the photo shoots where I was like, I'm gonna kick. I'm just gonna kick like just do really big kicks everywhere. Like this. Although that wasn't the kick in that photo. But that's what I was doing, and you can see like my soul that I was talking about because I really wanted that blue soul. So I made tennis shoes, and they are the comfiest boots ever. This is one of my favorite photos. I've done, but you can see my rubber bands. But yeah, no, I don't know. I really enjoy being this character. I really enjoy putting the mask on and taking photos because then it doesn't matter what my face looks like. I could be sticking my tongue out and no one would ever know. So this is neat. This is when I was testing what spandex to print this on. So like this actually isn't, this is like a stretch velvet. It definitely was not going to work, but I thought the finish would look nice. I thought it would look more like the photo, so we didn't use it, but that's just like, you can see even in this photo, like the amount of detail that's in this print just from, because this is printed onto that velvet. So you can see how detailed Spider Bite Designs made her print. So like when you see things and sometimes they look textured, they're not actually textured. It's printed like that. And it's just really, really good shading in your print. This is when Army Pop is going, look at how cool these are, before he shipped it to me. So this is what my face shell looks like without the mask on.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really fun, but it's, you know, it's a face shell. The paint I used for these things, more of the backpack. Here, you can actually, I think you can tell because the paint was still, the glue was still wet. Where you can see where I wrote MayDay.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what that looks like. But when it fully dried, it definitely was, you cannot tell. What I was talking about. There was a lot of these photos of just this backpack. But this is what I was trying my best to emulate. Let's see. There's a video a friend made, kind of like a TikTok, but I want to show off like an actual TikTok. This is the kick from that video. So that's the kick I made in that video. So there was that. Here are here's what the original web shooters looked like before they broke. And this is what they look like now. But that's okay. I'm going to remake these. In fact, actually, my big plan on them is there's an issue where Normie makes MayDay a tiny little cell phone. And I always wanted that as a toy. Like I always wanted it like with a cell phone toy, because you know, like they have the web shooter things, but they don't have like pretend toys and stuff like that. So I wanted that to touch. And so I think when I make my upgrades, I'm going to try and make that happen again, because it was too ambitious before.
So do these web shooters actually shoot webs?
No.
Ah, slacker.
I know. I gotta do it. Well, I learned too, like people have made like sort of like a web cartridge fluid thing out of lighters, and that's about the same size. So okay. I can do it in the next one too, but I had spent too much time trying to figure out how to like put all the like Arduino components and like what to do to like make a little tiny cell phone, and I was just in a little too over my head, so I kind of had to scale back this round because I am not a expert at 3D modeling. The only one I had done, this was my first project 3D modeling on my own, like without help. Because normally I'm like, I need help. So this was, I'm proud of what I did, but it is a work in progress because I'm gonna remake them. I really want that. I really want that cartridge phone so bad. So this is the wig on the wig head, which that wig head has got the mask on behind me right now. But I like, you know, that's normal cosplay stuff though. Cutting wigs.
So let's see the pictures from May.
Yes, they are down here.
And do you have those with the? Oh, you do. Okay.
Yeah. So these pull straight from my Instagram. So I always did my side by sides with them. So this is from What If 105. It's not the right top, but that top is from BB. And in my interview, like we talked about, because MayDay owned a lot of BB clothes, like, a lot. There's one with like the logo on it and a little bit, but tried to do my best there with my wig. Then there's that one. That one was a little bit difficult because I could not find a green and pink color block top to save my life, and I didn't actually own one, but I had a tube top swimsuit and a green crop top.
Oh, funny.
So that's how I made that.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's like, it's a bathing suit and then my crop top underneath, which I think looks pretty good. I mean, considering. And then my hoodie girl, which I think technically should probably just count as a costume, but in beginning Amazing Spider-Man or Spider-Girl, she doesn't have her suit yet.
2.
Huh?
Issue number 2. She starts with in issue number 1, but then she's in it for almost all of issue number 2, right?
Yes. And so I actually really tried, like, just so everyone knows, I realized my mask needs to be over my nose. But she uses her headband, and so I really tried my best to use my red headband, but it doesn't go over my nose. It's not big enough. But yeah, this is that. I tried. It was an attempt. But I think this should count as an actual costume, because she was in this in Amazing Spider-Girl 1 and 2, but she was also in the A-Next, that second A-Next mini from issues 1 through 3 in Hoodie Girl. Because 3 is when she comes, or 1 and 2 in Hoodie Girl, because in 3 she comes back in her regular suit.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, I've got it in my hand right here.
Yeah, Hoodie Girl. This one is when they had a guest artist, which was neat, because he actually has an Instagram, and I tagged him in it, and he was like, "Oh my goodness, I remember these days. They were so fun." And I was like, "Oh, I'm glad."
Who was the artist on that?
I would have to pull up the Instagram. I cannot remember. This is why, like, we make jokes about, like, I should be on trivia, but I should not be on trivia, because
where in the series was that?
It was in the middle. It was before death, so I want to say it's probably in the 50s, but I can't remember the full number. My brain says 54, but I don't think that's right.
Was it the one that was not written by Tom DeFalco?
No.
Okay.
That's another one. We don't talk about that one. That one's a weird one.
Oh, it was fine. It was a fill-in. It was fine.
It was the boy, like, so it's a different point of, that one's like a different point of view than May, because it's like a boy in her class that she doesn't know writing her letter, but like there's a weird scene where she's like in the shower, so I assume it's the boy thinking about her in the shower, and then it just makes it creepy. It just makes it creepy. I mean, I get it, he's a teenage boy, but like it just didn't fit. It didn't fit the series at all. All right, and then there's this one. While you're looking that up, so this is from Amazing. I mean, it's a vest and a t-shirt. And then there's more. I want to say nope. There is more. They're just everywhere.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah, no, I was like, there's more. There is this one, which I think is probably the most famous one. There's actually 2 Italian Spider-Girl cosplayers that also have this shirt and also cosplay MayDay and her civvies, and they are the only other 2 that I know of that do that.
The artist was Chris Batista?
Yes, Chris Batista. I was like, the moment you said Batista, I was like, there we go. Yes. So yeah, no, it was a lot. I mean, I enjoyed at least, also bringing in not just Pat and Ron and Tom and Sal and, the normal crew, because that was at least fun to also show off. Plus, this is actually like today is a really cute outfit. Although those pants are, I need a new set of khakis. Those were a little big. But yeah, no. So I did this one. She wears that shirt a lot. I really appreciated the attention to detail where she wears some items more than once.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have our favorites. Wearing Pete's jeans. So I tried to emulate that with a pair of baggy jeans. There's this one, which I was talking about, the BB top. This, I was really proud of this one, other than I didn't have a jean skirt because the one I had did not fit me. Or the one that looked like that didn't fit me. But this is in Amazing, where she meets April for the first time, and they, her clone. And so yeah, I really like this. Like I need to get a jean skirt, but like that was just, to me, it's like I feel like I hit it on the head in this one. I was very proud of myself.
So so next April, will you be doing a month where you dress as April all month?
She didn't have enough clothes to do that, but the thing with TikTok is there's so many things that, like, when I hear it or I see it, I'm like, oh, this would be hilarious with April. Like, I need more April. And I keep making that. I've said it since last May that I have the pattern. I know what eye shells I want to buy, because luckily so many people have done Venom that I can kind of get those eye shells pretty right. So it's like, I just need to go ahead and do it. And, and I'll work out all the stuff that needs to be done on it. But it legitimately, thanks to TikTok and all of the ideas I have, next paycheck I'll probably go ahead and buy the suit and go ahead and get started on it. So hopefully in April, like maybe April Fool's Day or something, I'll have or no, it should be April 30th because April comes before May. And do something with her, most definitely, because I've got her wig. I dread her fashion sense, but I will buy that one outfit that she wears if I need to, just for the gram, because it would be fun. I never liked April in the beginning, but I appreciate her now a lot, and I kind of miss like that weird dynamic. Like I'm glad what happened because I think that was the best course of action, but April was a good character.
I have to, you know what, I have to say that I did not like her as a character. I think as as long as she was in that Amazing Spider-Man, but then when it bled over into the Spectacular stuff, it just felt really old after a while.
No, and I agree with you. No, I agree with you. I remember when it first happened, and I was like, do we really have to go to clones? This is really, because I remember reading it and going, great. Well, the series days are finally numbered. And I feel really bad about that, but I was like, oh crap, because it kind of felt like jumping the shark, and I was like, no.
Well, I think that honestly,
but I really liked her after hindsight, after the fact, many ages of wisdom, no longer being 17 and bratty. I really do appreciate April because I like the idea of her character, and I think had they had more time, we would have seen a more redemption arc. I just don't think she should have ever she shouldn't have stayed forever. But I don't think that was ever the intention.
Well, I reread everything within the past couple of years, I want to say, but that Amazing Spider-Girl series, the Amazing Spider-Girl series really built up into something and had a fantastic ending. And I was always happy that they were able to continue.
Yeah.
And especially since I like that particular team so much. But I feel like they had an ending. You know, they had an ending for Peter there, and they kind of had an ending for the series, and then it went on, and it didn't feel quite as strong as it had been. And maybe it's because the stories were shorter and they were bouncing around from title to title. But I think that the strongest that was when they introduced April,
Yeah.
and when they had that whole thing with Peter and Norman Osborn and all of that business, and that ending, I thought was fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, I loved it. And that, I think that that's kind of my thing. I think ultimately the issue with April is just April. She was made for the amazing stuff, and then the spectacular stuff kind of did feel a little like a drag. But when you go back and you reread it all together, and you kind of take the story in as a whole, she really wasn't there that long, and she does redeem herself in the end, because I think the end is a really good one shot. I don't like it as the end of the series, but that might be my own little bias there of just I didn't want it to end anyway. But it was it's like I remember going, oh man, not clones, and just kind of not really liking her for that reason. And she is kind of a abrasive character. Just her personality is just slightly abrasive, but it's just more that she is so much different than May. And in the end, she is still a Parker. And it might take her it takes her a long way, but eventually she knows what to do to make things right. And she did sacrifice herself. So I will always, I have a soft spot for April. It has been 10 years. It has been 10 years. I think it's okay to spoil that. But yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. This was a lot of fun because this is like straight 2000s threw up all over me. I had to pull that hat that you can't see because of the thing, but I had to pull that hat out of the attic. I was hoping that we still had it, and we did, but I was at my parents' house and had to take it. The rest of this still technically works, just not together. So yeah, so there was that. I did buy the puka shells because I was like, you can't not wear that outfit without puka shells. But what I was going to show off, because this is what I was talking about. This was the special outfit for the end of the month. So this was her disguise she wore in Marked for Death. And it's so fun. It's so awkward and funny. And I had to do it.
And she was at the funeral. Now,
yeah, she was at Wilson Fisk's funeral.
Right. So would you wear that at a con?
Yes.
Okay. I was asking that question. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't ask this question, but you answered very quickly in the affirmative.
Oh yeah, no, I would wear it, and I would wear it, and I'd probably bring a jar, and I'd be like, "Can you guess what this is?"
You know what? You should do that.
Yeah, like bring a jar and be like, "Every wrong guess, you have to give me $1 and see what happens." Like, I'd probably make some money. But like, it's just so silly and so funny, and because that scene is so funny. So I had to do it, and even though this, like, what I sewed on is really shoddy because it was literally a Dalmatian accessory costume. This is not a full cover. These are dog ears from a headband. Okay. But I don't know. To me, this brought great amusement. I know a lot of other fans of the series thought this was hilarious, and I'm glad that I could bring that to life. This one was interesting because I did the makeup for issue 27.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a lot of reaction from this one because people were like, that looks too real. Like this is painful to look
Oh,
at.
right.
Yeah, this is painful to look at. So I don't know if I'll ever do this again, except, you know, if I ever can get, I really, really want to do a fan film from just this issue, because I think that it would be, without a lot of money, really compelling just by the story. You know, you get the Normie and the May having their argument and stuff like that. Normie finally coming, like, basically finally admitting that, you know, he needs help because he was saying, you know, break out of this, beat me up. You're gonna have to kill me. It's the only way. And then it's like he, you know, he's not gonna kill her at the end. So it's, I don't know. It's a very compelling issue that I think is one of my top 10 issue, like, favorite comic book issues of all time, because it's just so good. So I did that. Really good 2000s, 2003 era, throwing a dress over your jeans.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all right, let me double check, because I did want to focus on this because this is my most recent thing. I wanted to do something with the zombies, and it was just a random out there idea of like, oh man, I really want to do this. Well, my friend does a zombie pinup contest, and some other friends really wanted to submit photos to it. We came to the agreement that we would do this, and then I brought a backup outfit that we would also try. Now, the backup outfit is what we chose to do because that's more classic pinup-y, but they went full into helping me recreate this variant cover from Pat Olive from Amazing. I want to say it was 25. My memory is serving me correctly. Again, I am bad with numbers, but we recreated it here, and I know I'm not sitting quite right, but it is really hard to sit the way she was drawn. But we tried to recreate it, and I was really happy with it. And
Can you blow that up any bigger?
I can try. It, you know, it cuts off because it's on the web. It's on
You know,
the screen.
I gotta say, and maybe it's because of the posters in the background or
Uh-huh.
the background, but it actually looks like a piece of art. Like, it looks like an illustration.
So I will say, like, Kyle did the background and did all the digital work, and he, like, I know these photos are of us and the makeup artist, Kiana. But like he went in and he, like, basically kind of had to draw this himself to do the background. And so I'm really, you know, impressed by his talent. So yeah, no, he did a really good job, and it does look like that because of the background. But I think it adds to it, like it adds to the recreation, because this is, you know,
Oh, it's cool. It's
what it
really
looks,
cool.
you know, it looked like. I really did, you know, put teddy bear stuffing in my mouth. Um, the makeup was really cool. It wasn't quite like this, but it was near there. We tried. We did our best. I made sure I got all the right plushies.
Mm-hmm.
So we did our best. I think we did a really good job. I don't think anyone's ever done it. Let's see. I'm trying to
Wait,
find
you
other.
wanted to show a TikTok too, correct?
Yes. So they are at the bottom of here, I'm
Okay.
sure. So like there's my black suit. I did try my hand at the black suit.
Let's take a look real quick.
Yeah. I haven't gotten any photos back of this. I need to do a photo shoot when things are safer. But I did do her black suit. I have all the patterns for even the Spider Island Web Warriors Spider Woman suit.
Uh-huh.
I just really don't have the motivation to get that done. But yeah, so here's all my photos of my stuff, and then here's some TikToks. So let's see. I think this might be the one that I worked really hard on, like one of them. Yeah. So this is actually a GIF of the TikTok of me changing. So that way it doesn't have sound. So there's that. And then I did this one yesterday. But it's a little blurry. But just, quick little things that are silly. Like I said, I think my favorite thing has been doing duets. So this is a duet I did with an Annie cosplayer.
Explain real quick who Annie is.
Yeah, so Annie is from Renew Your Vows, and so that is another alternative timeline where Pete and MJ have a daughter, but instead of it being May, it's Annie, because it's kind of their world deviates later from the 616 than May's world. And yeah, so they kind of come together in Spider-Geddon and meet and get to see the sisters that they could have had at some point in another alternative dimension. And especially for Annie, because her MJ and Pete had a stillborn daughter named MayDay, or named May. So for Annie, this is like seeing that sister, and it's a really cute little series. I always enjoy interacting with Annies. So this is kind of a play off, because I don't know if the sound is on, but this is a play off of the Spider-Verse scene where Miles is stuck to the light. So I'm doing the voices for Peter B. Parker, and she's doing Miles, and so she's about to like hum. And it was silly, but I saw her little TikTok of that, and I was like, all right, I have to do it, because it would be too cute for, May and Annie to work together. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing, and that's basically it. I really like being the character, because like I said, like I've only had the outfit for about a year and a half, really. And I just feel like I do a lot in her, but this suit, like just doing it and just being like, I guess, very authentically me. I've had a lot of really good opportunities, like joining the Crawlspace, doing Spidey Dude Network, and creating Make Mine MayDay, which is my Spider-Girl podcast, which I'm very excited about. And, crazy things like the interview with Tom DeFalco and Ron Friends and Sabu Shema, and getting to actually talk to Ron and stuff like that, because that's just amazing. My 30th birthday, I got a wonderful drawing that I haven't posted, and I don't know if I'm going to post, because I don't want to be show-offy, and I'm very I just want to be very respectful, because it means a lot to me. But they gave me a drawing for my birthday, and it's of me, and that's crazy. And I'm very speechless still, because it's just the coolest thing ever, and I'm beside myself, and I would have never had that had I not just went for this. I wouldn't have had these opportunities, and that's kind of my thing, because you're saying it's like, yeah, I'm doing this for me, and I am. And I would be doing this without, if those opportunities had not come around, I would still be on Instagram. I would still be on social media doing this, probably still be on TikTok, but I don't know if I would feel as confident enough had I not had the reaction that I've gotten, which is amazing. But it's very, I'm very beside myself when, when I get to do all these things, and it all happened because I just went, it's now or never. I got to do it. So I'm glad I get to bring her to life and I hope I do the character justice every day, not just, you know, by having a good photo or a funny TikTok, but by just by sharing my love for it.
So I have one more question for you,
Mhm.
and then I'm going to ask you where people can find you.
Yeah, sure.
Do you consider yourself a creator?
Maybe a little bit. I think that I think crafting is a creative endeavor. I don't think I'm nearly as talented. I'll put it this way. I don't think that I'm as talented as other creators. But I would see myself as a creator because I do create. I do try to bring things to life off the page, just, as a wearable item, so as a costume or as a prop. And I think that that is creative. But I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm as talented as the people creating it.
I'm going to make a real quick comment on that, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
I would say, first of all, and if you saw my interview with Ron Friends, you know what I said to him about that. It is not. Talent is maybe 10%. It's the work that you actually put in. And I would 100% disagree with you
Okay.
that you are not talented, because
Okay.
talent really takes, and again, this is just my commentary on what you're saying, but talent really takes observation, it takes hard work, it takes dedication. And from what I can see, you're doing all of that. You might not be drawing things and printing them, but in my opinion, you're as much of a creator as I am, or Ron is, or Tom DeFalco. It's just a little bit of a different thing. And yes, and that's true. And that actually goes for any cosplayer that you run across. If you're putting work into something, you are a creator.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you're getting paid for it or not, whether you're getting kudos for it or not, you are a creator. So, so Kelly, where can people find you?
You can find me on my Instagram. It is my personal Instagram, so it's kmcdaniel28. TikTok is Make Mine MayDay. You can also find me on my show, Make Mine MayDay, which I am very, very happy and excited for. We have a lot of fun things planned. So if you really want to, whether you're an old fan of Spider-Girl or a new fan, definitely come join. It's all about the fandom, and it's all about how basically the community is still alive after all these years, and it's a lot of fun. Also, catch me on the Crawlspace, Spider-Man Crawlspace. You have interviewed Brad before, and even former panelist Stella, the original Spider-Girl for the Crawlspace. So you can catch those old episodes with Stella or new episodes with me and Ashley and everybody else on Spider-Man Crawlspace, wherever podcasts are. Same with Make Mine MayDay, should be pretty much where every podcast is. And that's really it. Pretty easy to find me.
Yes, and for anybody who didn't have a pen to write all of that down with, you will find the links below, which will be put there at some point before this is advertised. So they will be there by the time you see this. So I think we're gonna end it there, if you don't mind.
Of course. No, I'm good.
And yeah, and at some point, I'm actually kind of wondering, and I'll embarrass you and ask you on the air. At some point in the future, I might do something where different cosplayers would like call in or send messages. Would you be interested in participating in a meeting for that, where you would answer questions about your craft, about your dedication, and about the stuff that you would recommend?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I pretty much already do that on the different spider forums, because you can always, if there's a spider cosplay group, I'm probably a part of it, and I'm always happy to answer questions and help people out wherever I can. So
great. And as we wrap up, we're right before Thanksgiving here.
Yes.
And so I would like everybody to stay safe and be careful. We're not quite out of this thing yet. And also, if you would like to read a free digital copy of Visitations #1, there is a link below Kelly's stuff, and that is an email where you can send me a request, and you get a free PDF of Visitations #1. And we are going to end it there. And so thank you very much. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.